Okay, boys, we're finally taking a look at Rend. We have a pretty interesting take on the build here, or it's more of a bleed build in general than it is like specifically Rend. And we're going to do a tier 100 Morgan's Work here with Stormbane's Wrath. That'd be pretty fun, I guess. And this is on hardcore if that matters. So this is Death Evasion Elixir, and I've also got an All Resist Elixir because my gear is really low item power on this one. But even so, this is actually a really fun build, a unique playstyle, strong enough to do this kind of content, and can actually do a reasonably good job on bosses. But unfortunately, this dungeon doesn't quite have like a one-to-one, you know, it's got a triple boss, so they're not going to be the best to represent the single target DPS, which is the weakest point of this build, but I think you'll still get a pretty good, oh, that's going to hurt, a pretty good idea of how it's going to work. And as always, we'll talk a bit about the build, show the skills, the Paragon, and everything at the end, and there's a build planner in the description for those of you who want to take a look at that instead. And just, you know, I'm going to keep saying this across my next couple of videos, but it looks like I might not be able to stream on Twitch anymore because I live in Korea, and that's a whole thing. I'm not too sure if I can get around that issue. I'll let you know as soon as possible, so if you're not already, make sure you're following me on like Discord or Twitter, because I'll be talking about that a lot as the, you know, the days come on there. And if you want to help support the content, because I'm not going to be stopping, you know, the YouTube videos or anything like that, and then you can, you know, possibly look at becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon member. And we'll also be building out some rewards for people who do that. But let's get back into looking at the build. Stormbane's Wrath is just not my favorite thing in the world. Especially when I'm still kind of getting used to the playstyle of the build myself as well. But you're just dragging enemies in, hitting them with a Rupture, and moving on. And it hits so damn hard that is enough to kill 90% of the enemies in the game. And actually, even the chains by itself will often kill most enemies, which is it's actually kind of a little frustrating. I want to grab them in and do the Rupture, but the chains will often just kill them for you. So, you know, good. It's a good problem to have, I guess. Doing too much damage, you can't really argue with that. We'll just go through here. We're using Iron Skin instead of Triple Shout as like our defensives. We do have Berserk coming from a number of sources as well. This is a Berserk build. Let's just grab these enemies in. It's not a good dungeon for this because enemies get stuck on doors with Steel Grasp, which is something I wish I had remembered before starting this particular dungeon. But we'll get through this. Luckily, Rupture has that nice big AoE bleed. It will just absolutely melt everything in the vicinity. Enemy champion got me there. Did I get my Rupture out? Oh, that really hurt. I must have I must have eaten one of those on the face there. I messed up my Ruptures there due to the damage, so doing this a little bit the hard way. Let's see if we can get this Herald dead. So if you don't get the resets on that, that's something that can happen. You need to be getting like those Ruptures into pretty big juicy groups of enemies, or you will kind of lose like the rhythm of the build, because you're resetting the cooldown through killing, because we have Disembowel. But that was a play mistake on my part there. That's why we kind of had to run around doing no damage for a minute. But honestly, if you don't play like a potato like me, and you'll be fine when stuff like that happens. You see that Rupture there killed everything. I don't even have to worry about them. They're dead. Alright. I wish the bleed time was a little quicker. Alright, we're going to be up on the bosses pretty soon. I think I got them. There was an enemy champion there. Got to make sure you grab those in. Those are going to be a priority to kill, because that will completely gimp your Rupture if one of those damage reduction aura boys are knocking around. But look at that bleed. Deleted. Tier 100 enemies. And they're the big boys. These are quite tanky. Oh, that's not good. I'm actually going to just wait for Wrath of the Berserker to come up. Make sure I've got as much damage going into this fight as possible. Because the bosses split up and I can't use the chains on them, I'm a little bit worried about my damage here, but let's see how we do. Might be alright, you never know. So you open with the Rupture, and the reason for that is it goes as an attack speed boost. And you're going to want that. Even if you're not like got a bleed on them, and then you can use Rupture again afterwards. in order to execute that bleed. But yeah, as you can see, this is not a perfect boss for us. We got the we got the goddamn Stormbane standing on the enemies, and they're running around, which is not great. But we got through them pretty easy there. Now, what I will try and do, perhaps, is actually include a quick overlay, or just a quick video over the top of this showing me killing another boss, and that give you maybe a better idea of what this can do in a 1v1 situation without Stormbanes just like messing up everything. But let's get into the gear now and talk about all of that. I guess I didn't mention, but this actually is using no Ubers at all. So we got none here, and we've got none on the pet or anything like that. But, I mean, the sort of takeaway key components here, this gear sucks, so refer to the build planner in the description to know exactly what you want to take. But we're using Magnum Opus. We're scaling damage off of Max Fury, which we have a lot of, and you can use dual wield on Rupture and also on Ren, so we're getting a lot of damage from that. Ancient's Oath. This is actually an insane Ancient's Oath, and this is boosting our damage like way higher. Gives us a ton of extra utility as well, because we're getting huge grabs from the Steel Grasps, and it has like insane stats on it for a bleed build. Vulnerable, Berserking, and Close is all really good. So make sure when you're fighting bosses, like you saw me doing there, even though I can't grab them in, I threw that grab out like every couple of ruptures to make sure I had that damage boost actually up there and running. As for everything else, it's pretty much like just regular legendaries. But as for the stats and the aspects, definitely refer to the build planner, because a lot of this is not perfect. Like some of these rings, 807, 925, 801, it's just like hand me down. Getting gear this season has not been easy for me, so it's been a real struggle. As for the pet, we have Tempest and Adrenaline, and we have Safeguard, Fortify, and Resource. Now, we don't have many sources of Fortify, so this is really quite hard to not do with at the moment. But if you do have the two uber unique ones, then I would just slap Evernight in there. And the same with Genesis. You'd put this over here instead of Initiative. And Initiative, all it does here is actually teleport the bot to you to make sure it casts Flash on you as soon as it can. And then the other two just maintain the uptime. So it's all pretty good generic stuff there. As for Uber Uniques that you can use in the gear here, I mean, a Shaco is a no-brainer. You could, if you're finding that you're not feeling tanky enough, use a, what's it called, Doomblade, but Doombringer. Well, I forgot the name of it there, but I wouldn't recommend it. Your DPS would drop a lot. Starless Sky is fantastic. Salix, very good option as well, but you would need to shift the build around quite a bit. But I'll try and include a Uber version of this build as well in the description. And let's finally look at the skills in Paragon. Now, pretty run-of-the-mill bleed build here. If you do have the unique stones and you're using the Evernight and you're replacing Fortify, you may want to use Strategic Iron Skin here. But we have Iron Skin as our main defensive. We've paired this with Iron Warrior, so it's unstoppable, DR, barrier, a heal. It's everything. A form of damage and Berserk here, which is great. All of the Berserk bonuses that you'd expect. An insane amount of ranks of Steel Grass. Literally, I'm almost tempted to call this a Steel Grass build, but it's it's a really cool cool ability for this, because these two just pair together really nicely. And then Wrath of the Berserker, of course. And I have some points in Wallop, which I wouldn't necessarily have, but that's on my amulet. So that is what it is. Now, my Paragon board is a little bit adjusted from what you guys will see in the video. In the build planner, because I have to take some extra resistances around because my gear sucks so bad. But we are running Aya, Exploit, Ambidextrous, Disembowel, and Imbiber. Ambidextrous is always on the Carnage board. Make sure you're boosting all of these nodes here, because you're really going to want that. We have all of this Max Fury. And then, of course, we have Blood Rage, basically every single build. I'm running Hemorrhage here for a pretty sizable bonus damage to our bleeds. And then, finally, we have Decimator over here with Imbiber. Now, if you don't like how Imbiber feels, if you prefer to have more cooldown on your chains and on your Rupture, but it's actually probably a pretty even equivalency here, you could go for Weapon Master in this node instead and go for the Dexterity. I'd rotate it if that was what I was going to do. I'd rotate it, come through this end, get the Dex. But yeah, I would definitely not blame you for wanting to take this instead, but I find that as long as I don't mess up the rotation, I actually don't really ever need it, because I have a lot of cooldown reduction. But yeah, that is the build there. So let me know what you thought of this one. Sorry it took me so long to get around to a bleed build. I know a lot of you really wanted to play it this season, but just not getting gear and trying to go through the big list of new builds that we had this season took a while to get through. And yeah, let me know you liked it by leaving a comment, like the video, subscribe, and all of that. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.